A bit dramatic, much? Party pooper. Hello, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. Who remembers Tiny Toon Adventures? I certainly do. It was a great show. That show, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Freakazoid, they were all great TV shows. Back in the era where cartoons were actually funny and entertaining, compared to nowadays cartoons, which most of them tend to be shit. We have a couple of good ones, but not many. So, today I'm going to be reading a Tiny Toon Adventures fanfic. It is called All New Amour by Looney Rider 21. It's rated K, it's in English, it's romance drama, it has 6 reviews, and it's 3 chapters long. Joy. So let's get started with the author's note. This is my first ever Tiny Toon Adventures fic. Please be nice! In big capital letters. This features another new OC. Well, if this is your first Tiny Toon Adventures fanfic, how could it include another OC if this is the first one you've written? You should just say this features a new original character. His name is Jeremy Le Pew. He is the son Hector Le Pew. He is the son Hector Le Pew? Don't you mean he is the son of Hector Le Pew? And who exactly is Hector Le Pew anyway? Is this the other OC they were mentioning? I'm not really sure if that's his name, but it's a guess. Or maybe it is an actual character. I don't recall hearing about a Hector Le Pew at all. I know of Pepe Le Pew. Hector is the skunk that chased Sylvester in the Sylvester and Tweety's mystery episode Platinum Wheel of Fortune. Many think he was Pepe's cousin, but for my pick to make sense, I'm making Hector Pepe's older brother. Okay, there's a lot of things wrong with this whole thing. First of all, let's talk about Hector Le Pew. I looked up the episode, and the skunk in that episode is Pepe's cousin, his 4th cousin to be exact, but they don't say what his name is. Hector, who this person thinks his name is Hector, well, the thing is, the dog in that Sylvester and Tweety cartoon was named Hector. So it's quite clear to me that this person didn't bother doing their research. And another thing, well, let's just take a look at this series of sentences, starting with, but for my fic to make sense. Why is that all broken up into sentences? That doesn't make any sense. It just is very choppy looking. It should say, but for my next fic to make sense, comma, I'm making Hector Pepe's older brother. That's what it should say. So, seeing the author's note wasn't really that greatly written, something tells me the fanfic itself is not going to be greatly written. So, let's read the fanfic. Chapter 1, New Student. Nothing much was going on in Acme Acres. All the anthro and human students were arriving to their school, Acme Acme University. Before we start class, I'd like to introduce a new student to our class. Again, why the heck is before we start class its own sentence? It should be part of the other sentence and have it be separated with a comma. And another thing, why the heck is the layout like this? Have it be in paragraphs, not one sentence per paragraph. It just looks sloppy. Come on in, Bugs said, opening the door. Okay. When the new student came in. That's its own sentence. That's a fragment. That is a fragment. It's an incomplete thought. It's a fragment. Change it. Fifi's heart liked to have stopped. What? Fifi's heart liked to have stopped? What sense does that make? Shouldn't it say Fifi's heart felt like it stopped? That would make more sense than having it say Fifi's heart liked to have stopped. For the new student was actually a skunk. The boy skunk wore a red jacket and had quite a resemblance to Pepe, his uncle, even though his father was Pepe's older brother Hector. No one quite got that, but they went with it. Hi, I'm Jeremy Le Pew, the boy skunk said, waving. Jeremy had an American accent, though he could speak French and talk with a French accent. Though he decides to use his American accent more often. Okay, why the heck is though at the beginning of these two sentences? You usually use though like as an afterthought, so it doesn't make any sense that it would say though he decides to use his American accent. It should just say he decides to use his American accent more often so people can understand him better. Alright, now let's start class, Bugs said. Fifi wasn't paying a lick of attention to Bugs. She was too busy. Okay, they used the wrong two. They only have one O in the word, and there should be two words when you're using that version. She was too busy looking at Jeremy, who was in the front row corner. I guess when you're admiring, okay, wrong your, it should be Y-O-U'-R-E, not Y-O-U-R. See, Y-O-U-R is possessive, like your calculator. I guess when you're admiring a handsome skunk from afar, time goes by. Is that supposed to be her thoughts? Why isn't it implied that it's her thoughts? Considering how time flew by. Huh? Why? What's with that sentence? I mean, the last sentence already mentioned that when you're admiring a handsome skunk from afar, time goes by, so why the heck does it say considering how fast time flew by? That doesn't make any sense. It was like in 5 minutes, school was already over. Fifi saw Jeremy walking home. She quickly ran over to him. Monsieur Jeremy? Fifi asked. Yes. Jeremy asked, turning around to see Fifi. Actually, he didn't ask because instead of there being a question mark like there should be, it says yes with a period at the end. Big difference. If there's a period at the end of the sentence, it's someone stating something or saying something. If there's a question mark, then they're asking something. Duh! When Fifi saw him eye to eye. And that's how the sentence ends. When Fifi saw him eye to eye. Let's read the other sentence and see if this first sentence was supposed to be a continuation of it, or a beginning to it. She all of a sudden didn't feel like flirting with this typical skunk. So it should be all one big sentence and not two broken up. So this is what it should say. When Fifi saw him eye to eye, comma, she all of a sudden, don't you mean all of the sudden, didn't feel like flirting with this typical skunk. That's what it should say. Or he was different. She learned a few years ago that her other loves were actually other animals like, why is there a colon there? A cat, a coyote, a roadrunner, and a Tasmanian devil. You don't need a fucking you don't need a colon there. Why is that there? You don't need that there. Another one turned out to be totally jerk. Totally jerk? What type of animal is totally jerk? Johnny Pew, and another was Elmira in disguise. Ugh. Except Jeremy was completely different. He was a real skunk. He wasn't a movie actor. He wasn't someone else in disguise, and he didn't seem like a jerk. Madame? Jeremy said, trying to snap Fifi out of her thoughts. Just take a look at those two lines. They should be together as one continuing thought, not the way it's set up. It's fucking stupid. Let's continue. Oh, moi sorry. Fifi apologized. It's fine, Jeremy said in his French accent. Beau speaks French? Fifi asked. Oi. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I'm not French, you know. Well, I might have some French blood in me, but I don't know the language. Jeremy answered. But you had an American accent in class, Fifi exclaimed. I'm half American and half French. You see, my dad's French, my mom's an American. Jeremy explained. Oh, Fifi said. Is voice father Pepe Le Pew? Fifi asked. No, Pepe's my uncle. My father is his older brother Hector, Jeremy answered. But we all know that Hector is not the name of that skunk that showed up in that Sylvester and Tweety episode. So his father is technically the dog, if you're going by the name Hector. Then what does your father look like? Fifi asked. Well, he is, why is the word size in... Why is the word sigh like that? Why is it in parentheses? Why? Why? What the hell? How do I explain this? He is really, really strong, and he is tall. He has bangs that cover his eyes, though somehow he can still see through them. He is one buff skunk, enough to make my uncle jealous. Well, sometimes, Jeremy explained. Oh, well then why does Vos look like Vos' uncle instead of Vos' father? Fifi asked. Well, there's this little thing called genetics. You know, I kind of look like a good chunk of my family. I kind of look like my aunt. I look like my mother. I look like my father. It's a little thing called genetics. Of course you're going to look like your relatives. Jeez, what a stupid question that is. No one knows. Some even call me Pepe, even though they know my name's Jeremy. So technically, Pepe is my nickname, Jeremy explained. Oh, well, it's just Pepe is my mentor, Fifi said. She almost couldn't believe it. She was having a friendly conversation with a boy, and she didn't end up someone's servant. Don't you mean and she didn't end up as someone's servant? Nice choice in mentor, Jeremy said, chuckling. Hey, Fifi, I gotta be heading back home. If that's alright, see ya tomorrow, Jeremy said. Jeremy started rushing back to his home. Shouldn't it say Jeremy started to rush back to his home? It doesn't make sense to have started and then rushing next to each other, seeing started is past tense and rushing is present tense. Bye, Fifi said, as she too started walking home to her home. Repetitive much? An old Cadillac in a junkyard. Well, that's the end of chapter 1. Let's move on to chapter 2. Oh boy. Let's start off by reading the very short author's note at the beginning. Second chapter, please, oh please be nice and review. Don't get me started. Chapter 2, find out who your friends are. It was a nice sunny Saturday in Acme Acres. Fifi woke up and headed off to meet her friends, Shirley the Loon and Babs Bunny. She walked to the park where her friends were, sitting at a nearby tree. Again, those two sentences should be one, not two. Hey, Fifi, Babs said, waving. Like over here, Shirley said in her Valley Girl accent. Fifi rushed over to her friends and sat next to them. What is eat? Fifi asked. Oh, nothing. Just doing our normal average Saturday girl chat, Babs said. Okay, what the hell is this? Author's note, I got that from my sister. She loves chatting with her friends. and night. What? So you had to put that thought in this story. I really hate it when authors insert little notes throughout their stories because it's wicked annoying. That did not need to be there. Again, why is the word giggles in parentheses? Oh, okay, Fifi replied. Or were you, like wanting to see Jeremy? Shirley said. Don't you mean Shirley asked, seeing in the quotations you clearly show a question mark at the end of that sentence? Well, Moy was wanting to, Fifi said softly. Well, why don't you? Babs asked. He ain't as different as any other guy you met, Babs said. Okay, if Babs is saying those two lines, shouldn't the two lines be in one line, seeing it's both her lines? Actually, Babs, he is. He's an actual skunk, not someone with a stripe down their back, or a skunk, or in a skunk disguise. Also, he's not a big jerk like Johnny Pew, Fifi replied to her friend. Wow, he is different, but there's nothing wrong about Fifi. You are a great girl, pretty, smart, fun, and sweet. You've got everything a skunk boy's looking for, Babs claimed. Really? Did they really have to spell really wrong? I mean, I don't know if they're trying to emphasize her accent, but the word really, you say E anyway, so why did they spell it like that? Spell it right, please. You think that, Babs? Fifi asked. Fifi, I didn't think that. I've known that from the start, Babs said. Merci. Thanks, Babs. Doesn't merci also mean thanks, so why is she saying thanks twice? Konnichiwa. Hello. Hola. It's repetitive. Fifi said, hugging her friend. You're welcome, Fifi, Babs said. And if you, want to know where he is hanging out with Buster, Plucky, Calamity, Furball, and Hampton, Shirley said. Oh yeah, Buster told me. Him and the others were at the new hangout outside of town, Babs recalled. Well, what are you waiting here for, Fifi said. Oh, I'm sorry. What are we waiting here for? That was my mistake, not the author's. Yeah, let's go there, Shirley said. The girls left the park and headed outside of town. They found what looked like a little club. This must be the place, Babs said. The club was two stories. You tell how it was completely made of bricks and hardcore stone. What? Okay, let's read the sentence again and see how much sense it makes. The club was two stories. You tell how it was completely made of bricks and hardcore stone. That does not make any sense. What the hell do they mean by this sentence? Seriously. Were they half asleep when they were writing it? Oh, the club was two, so you can how completely made of bricks and hardcore. That's what it comes across as. When the girls walked in, they gasped. There were tables set up to almost cover the entire floor. There was a flight of stairs which you go up and will end up at inside. Don't you mean an inside? Seeing the word inside starts with a vowel, so it should be an, not a. At an inside berry with extra chairs, seats, and tables. There as well. Why is there as well its own separate sentence? That's a fragment. It should be part of the other sentence. There was a stage with red curtains, and you could see the green stage lights lighting up the stage. No, the lights are cleaning the stage. You could also see Buster fiddling with the mic. Furball holding his electric guitar. That should be part of the other sentence. Calamity getting shocked by checking out the light and sound system. That should also be part of the other two sentences. Plucky playing a beat on his drums that should also be part of the other sentences separated by commas. Hampton was carrying around a clipboard and a pencil as if he was a manager that should also be part of the other ones. Jeremy was nowhere to be seen. All the following lines should have been part of one huge sentence that was separated by commas, not their own separate little lines. Buster was the first to see the girls. "Hiya, gals. Like our little setup here?" Buster said, placing down his guitar. "Yeah," Babs replied. "Like, yeah," Shirley said. "Oi, yes," Fifi said. Monsieur Buster, where's Jeremy?" Fifi asked. "Oh, Jeremy. He's here, he's just... Plucky, where is Jeremy?" Buster asked. "Remember, he had to go home to get the lyrics and his bass guitar. He said he'll be here in a minute," Hampton said in a little bossy way, almost sounded a bit stressful. Okay, that needs to be rewritten. "Hampton, is your name Plucky?" Plucky snapped. "Whatever, we need Jeremy here in the next 5 minutes or we can kiss this recording session goodbye," Hampton said it in his same tone as before. Oh, I'm sorry, in his same tone as before. That was my mistake. "Whoa, whoa, take it easy there, Hampton. He'll be here," Buster said. Just then Jeremy came in with papers in one hand and his guitar in another. Heavy breaths. "Sorry I was late." Pants. Okay. The words heavy... No. Let me just show you what this looks like. What the heck is with the parentheses? What the heck is with the parentheses? This isn't a script. This is not supposed to be a script. And if it is supposed to be a script, it's very badly written. You do not need parentheses. This is a story. You don't need parentheses inside of it. It comes across as distracting and sloppy. There's other ways you could put that in there. It could say, Jeremy approached, breathing heavily. "Sorry I was late." He pants a bit more. "I was having a hard time finding the lyrics sheet." That's what it should say, not have it in parentheses. Jeremy said, rushing on to the stage. Take a look at this. Can someone please tell me what's wrong with that? First of all, it's the wrong 2. It should be 1-0, not 2. And secondly, it should be the word onto, not 2 separate words. It should be 1 word, not 2. 1. 1. 1. Uno. "Told you so, Hampton," Buster said. "Whatever, let's record a song." Calamity, start recording, Hampton commanded. Now, I know it's been a while since I've seen Tiny Toon Adventures, but I don't remember Hampton being this much of a dick in the other cartoon. What the hell is with this? This is something that Plucky would probably do, not Hampton. Calamity pulled up a sign that said on it. Wait a second. Why is there a period inside the quotations and then another one outside the quotations? Get rid of them! Or at least one of them, because it doesn't make sense to have 2 of them! Preferably get rid of the one outside the quotations. Calamity pressed a few buttons and pointed to the stage, a sign to tell the boys to start playing. They started playing the beat to a song called You Find Out Who Your Friends Are, originally sung by Tracy Lawrence. Well, at least they're giving credit to the actual song, artist, person, writer, thing, whatever. Now, it's being sung and played by some of the minor Tiny Toon boys. And you can't clarify who exactly. Buster, run your car off the side of the road. Get stuck in a ditch way out in the middle of nowhere. Oh my God. Take a look at this word here. First of all, it should be 2 separate words, not 1. Secondly, there should be a period after nowhere. And finally, well, get yourself in a bind loose should be another sentence. Oh yes, and I know these are song lyrics, but I'm not singing them, so I'll spare you the torture. Get yourself in a bind, loose the shirt off your back need. They did it again with back and need! What the hell? This is lazy. This is pure laziness. Did this person even bother to proofread this before they published it on the web? Need a floor, need a couch, need a bus fare. Buster, Jeremy, American voice. This is where the rubber meets the road. This, they did it again with road, and this is where the cream is gonna rise. This. When mistakes like this show up once, it's somewhat understandable. But the fact that the stupid mistake has been being repeated over and over and over again in a very short amount of time is ridiculous. This just proves that this author is a lazy ass who does not know how to proofread their own work. And if you're wondering why I'm getting pissed, for rise and this, it's one word again, even though it's supposed to be two. This is what you really don't know. This, and they did it again with no in this. This is where the truth don't lie. Buster, Jeremy, and Plucky, you find out who your friends are. What? Oh, you find out who you are friends are? Don't you mean your Y-O-U-R, not Y-O-U''R-E? Buster, somebody's gotta drop everything. Jeremy, run out and crank up their car. Buster, Jeremy, and Plucky, hit the gas, get there fast. Jeremy, never stop to think what's in it for me or it's way too far. Jeremy, Buster, and Plucky, they just show on up with a big old heart. You find out who your friends are. Well, at least they spelled your right that time. Oh my god, how much more of this stupid song is there? Is this really necessary? Buster, everyone wants to slap your back once. Don't you mean... They did it again with back and wants. To shake your hand when... Why do they keep on doing this? Is it a deal that they keep on forgetting to press the stupid enter button or something? When you're up on top of that mountain, Jeremy, but let one of those rocks give way, then you slide back down, look up and see who's around then. Buster, this ain't where the road comes to an end. Jeremy, this ain't where the bandwagon stops. Plucky, this is just one of those times. Buster, when a... What the? I'm getting so freaking sick of these stupid mistakes. Deep breath, deep breath. Whew. Okay, I think I'm better now. When a lot of folks jump off, Buster, Jeremy, and Plucky, you find out who your friends are. Somebody's gonna drop everything, run out and crank up their car. It's like every other sentence. I mean, just take a look at this. Take a look. But this is ridiculous. Is it really that hard to check your work before you publish it on the web? Is it really that hard to press the enter button? Is it really that hard to put a punctuation mark in a sentence? Is it really that hard to use the space bar? Is it? Let's continue. Hit the gas, get there fast. And oh my god, how much more of this stupid song is there? Buster, never stop to think what's in it for me. Plucky, or it's way too far. Jeremy, they just show on up. Him and Buster put their free arms around each other's shoulders. Now that I could kind of understand being in parentheses, but still. With their big old heart. How much more of this fucking song is there? This is ridiculous. Buster, Jeremy, and Plucky, you find out who your friends are. Buster, when the water's high... Shut up! Shut up! Stop with the damn song! I just want to get on with the story! When the water's high, Jeremy. When the weather's not so fair, Plucky. When the well runs dry, Buster. who's gonna be there, all boys. You find out who your friends are. Somebody, they did it again. Somebody's gonna drop everything. They did it again. Everything. Run out and crank up their car. Hit the gas. Get there fast. Never. Oh, they did it again. Stop to think. What's in it for me? Or it's way too far. Is this song almost over? Please tell me it's almost over. They just show up with their big old heart. You find out who your friends are. The boys strum the last notes. Thank God! If I had to read any more of that stupid song with the bad layout and having two words merged as one, I swear I was going to lose my mind. And that's a wrap. Hampton yelled so loud that the girls thought they'll fall out of their chairs. This is not a word. It should say out of their chairs, not out of their chairs. That's slang. What the if the characters were saying that, that would be one thing, but seeing this is supposed to be the narration from the author. The boys got off stage and walked to the girls. You guys were like great. Shirley commented. Thanks, all boys. We know that all the boys are saying thanks, so why the heck does it have this here? We already know they're all saying things and we don't need to name them. Is Hampton always like this with you guys when you're recording? Babs asked. No, she didn't ask because there's no question mark at the end of that sentence. If you want her to be asking a question, put down a question mark. When we're about to play at a gig, recording sessions, band practice, even when it's our first time playing the song, they used our instead of our, like our home. Instead they use are, like are you there? How could you mess up with that? O-U-R. That's the proper spelling you need to use for the word that you're trying to put in the sentence, not A-R-E, because A-R-E and O-U-R are two completely different R's. Ah! My God! And you guys wonder why I'm insane. You wonder why I'm nuts. I think they know the reason why you're insane. And you can shut up! Go back in your room. Shoo! Jeremy said. Did Vows write that song? Fifi asked. Yep, I got the idea from when I first moved to... Wait a minute, what? Did Vows write that song? Fifi asked. So didn't they just say this song belonged to someone else? Whatever. Yep, I got the idea from when I first moved to Acme Acres. When my father was dropping my off... Don't you mean dropping me off at the university? Our car battery... They did it again! Our car battery drained and we couldn't do much until some people came. Don't you mean came? Oh, let's continue. And helped us out, Jeremy said. I like eat, Fifi said. Thanks, Jeremy said. Fifi was finding herself falling for Jeremy. He's cute, sweet, kind, talented, and friendly. I wish he would write a song about me, Fifi thought. As if he read her mind, he said, you want me to write a song about you, he asked. There's no question mark at the end of that, so it shouldn't say yes. If you want a question mark, have a question mark. Have a question mark. Forgive me. Of course. Okay. feel the need that I have to continue the review for the FanFic Critic, seeing she's out of commission at the moment. The thing is, I couldn't let her continue the review because at this point she was going to lose her bloody marbles, and we all know what happens when she loses her bloody marbles. So, where did she last leave off? Let's see. Was it here? It's all the singing part. Oh, okay, let's start right around here. As if he read her mind, he said, "You want me to write a song about you?" he asked. Actually, he didn't ask because there's no question mark at the end of that sentence. Nervous giggle. Why is that in parentheses? That doesn't make any sense. Would Voss really do that for moi? Fifi asked. Of course, Jeremy said. Fifi giggled. What's so funny? Jeremy said with a slight chuckle. Oh, nothing. It's just I never, Fifi said, not knowing what to say. Had anyone do something like this for you before? Jeremy finished for her. Oi, Fifi said. Excuse me, I'm not really French, so I'm not sure if I'm saying these things right or not. Jeremy smiled. It's okay. Besides, by the way I see you, I would have a dozen songs written. If you're saying you're going to have a dozen, wouldn't it make more sense to have an S at the end of the word song? Because having an S at the end would be plural, if I'm not mistaken. Jeremy said and walked away. Fifi blushed bright red. Okay, Buster, you got some explaining to do. How in the heck did y'all get a record deal? Babs asked. And like this old rundown club, Shirley added. Well, it all started, Buster began. Flashback. Quite literally, in bold letters it says flashback. Oh boy, you can't just explain it. This is why I could never get into fan fiction. Buster, Plucky, Hampton, and Furball weren't doing much. Hey, I got a good suggestion. Why don't we visit that new kid in town? Buster said. Don't you mean Buster asked? No way. My bay, you didn't realize. Buster, he's a skunk. My bay. I don't think that's a word. I think they mean maybe. Plucky said. So is Fifi, Buster replied. Yeah, and what if he acts like Fifi? Plucky protested. Okay, that's a silly argument. He's implying that all skunks act alike. That would be like me acting exactly like the FanFic Critic just because I look like her. As you can clearly see, I act nothing like her. I really hated having to do that, but I didn't want to do something drastic again, if you know what I mean. Plucky. I will tell you one thing I realized about him. He's way different than Fifi. Just by the looks of this guy, you can tell he'll hit it big. Someday. Somehow, Buster said. Oh, come on, Plucky, it's better than nothing, Buster said. Wait a minute, didn't Buster just speak in the last line? So, did the author forget to put in Plucky's words? That must be it, because I can't see why else it would be read like this. It doesn't make any sense. What do we got to lose? Buster added. Shouldn't they have all of Buster's lines in one line instead of 3? That would be more logical than how it's set out right now. Fine, Plucky said. The boys started walking towards Jeremy's apartment. That was only a few blocks from Fifi's Cadillac in the junkyard, though neither of them know that. The boys knocked. No one answered. Then they heard some music from the garage. They snuck into the garage and saw Jeremy playing on his guitar and singing the song they just finished singing, You Find Out Who Your Friends Are. How could they just finish singing that song if the song was just written that very moment, unless they're referring back to before the flashback? But if this is supposed to be in a flashback, it shouldn't be mentioned that it was the song they just finished singing. The author should say, something along the lines of Jeremy playing on his guitar and singing the song that they were going to sing in the near future. That would make more sense, if you know what I mean. When Jeremy finished. Well, that's an odd little sentence there, when Jeremy finished. I think that's supposed to be a fragment. Buster said hello. Hey, you're Buster Buddy, right? Jeremy guessed. Yup, that's Hampton, Plucky, and Furball. Buster introduced. So, Jeremy, can you play? Hampton said, taking hold of Jeremy's guitar. Yeah, I can play every instrument, sing, and write songs. Shouldn't the sentence sing and write songs be part of the other sentence? It seems a little odd by itself. I don't know. This isn't exactly my area of expertise. That's her area of expertise, but she's kinda... maybe I should stop using a phase pistol on her. She's normally awake by now. Let's continue with the review. Jeremy said, "You're pretty talented," Plucky said, then mumbled, "for a skunk." Buster heard this remark and elbowed him. "You know, we can play as well," Buster said. "Oh, no, Buster, I can't play any of these instruments," Hampton said. "I know, that Hampton." That's a weird place for the comma, isn't it? I mean, shouldn't it be elsewhere, like after the word that instead of before that? "I was talking about me, Plucky, and Furball," Buster said. "Well, what can you play?" Jeremy said. Wouldn't it be more appropriate if he said Jeremy asked? Geez, I'm beginning to understand why the FanFic Critic was getting so frustrated. "I can play a little guitar and sing," Buster said. "I can play the drums," Plucky said. Furball answered by strumming a tune on an electric guitar. "Cool. Hey, want to play together?" Jeremy said. "Like start a band?" Buster said. "Don't you mean Buster asked?" "Sure," Jeremy said. "Oh, man, this'll be so cool," Buster said. But what will I do?" Hampton said. "Geez, I think this person's favorite word has to be said, 'cause it shows up at the end of every single sentence. I mean, there's other words you can use other than said. You could have Buster stated, Buster exclaimed, Buster mumbled, anything other than said. Use said once in a while sounds okay, but to have it over and over and over again, it gets rather annoying. And this is why I do not review fanfics. Alright. Oh wait, I forgot a line. "You can be like our manager," Buster said. "Alright," Hampton said. "There are lyrics and music sheets to my new song I wrote this morning," Jeremy said, handing them to Buster. "Huh? You find out who your friends are? I like it," Buster said. "You didn't even read the song yet, so how could you like it? For all you know, it could be about porn stars. Or it could be about drugs. Or it could be about mushrooms. It could be about anything. It could be something that you don't like. So you can't say you like something until you've actually gotten the chance to get to know it." I had to learn that the hard way. "Really?" Jeremy said. "Yeah," Buster said. Now, see, with that sentence, it should have said "yeah," Buster exclaimed, because there's an exclamation point for "yeah." So it would have made more sense to have him kind of yell it instead of saying he said. Because when you say said, it's kind of bland. But then again, I'm not the expert in this area. I'm trying my best though, and I hope I'm doing good. The boys studied the song hard and well. It wasn't long until they got the hang of it, after an hour of rehearsing and breaks. They caught the attention of an agent from the Acme Acres music industry, and he offered them a recording contract. The boys took it in a heartbeat. That's when they also figured a name for their band, Rock Tunes. Okay, this part's in parentheses. I know it's not that good of a name, but hey, better than nothing. You know, I've read professional stories, and never once have I seen the author insert personal notes inside of the story. So that's kind of distracting. They asked Calamity to be their album recorder and director for their music videos. He accepted. I think they used the wrong there. It's supposed to be T-H-E-I-R, not T-H-E-R-E. When you use T-H-E-I-R, it's possessive. You know, their phone, their dog, their family, When you're using the other word there, it's like to talk about a place. Hey, the Pizza Hut is over there. The McDonald's is down there. I am right here, and the FanFic Critic is down there. Oh, she doesn't look too good. She'll wake up any moment now, I'm sure of it. Let's continue. Then they all ended up in that old rundown club, which they rebuilt, and turned into not only their recording sessions, but where they'll play live. End of flashback. So it turned out it was a good thing they went to visit Jeremy when we did. Buster said, crossing his arms around Jeremy's neck. So is he trying to strangle him? Yeah, Bob said. Well, we are fixing to leave, Buster said. Yeah. This word's in parentheses for some reason, yawns. I am tired. I think they're missing an S at the end of guess. Oh, that rhymed, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to. I guess when your friends start a band, time goes by. I think that's the wrong by, you don't need an E at the end, Babs said. Yep, it sure does, Buster said. All of them walked out of the hangout and went home, except for Jeremy and Fifi. Want moi, me. To walk vos, you. Home, Jeremy said in French. I guess they have the words me and you in parentheses to let the raters know what they're saying in French. But it's kinda silly because we could assume what it means, especially seeing these two words were used earlier in the fan fiction without it being explained. And seeing that I've watched enough of the Muppets to know that moi means me, seeing Miss Piggy constantly says it 24/7, so it doesn't take much to figure out what the two words mean. So pretty much it was kinda stupid that they did this. Oi, Fifi said. Moi likes eat when you talk in French, Fifi said. Moi likes eat too, Jeremy replied. Fifi led Jeremy to her home, a Cadillac and a dumpster. Well, this is it, Fifi said. It's not much, Fifi said. Better than nothing, Jeremy said. Well, au revoir, in parentheses goodbye. I think I figured that. Fifi said, a little disappointed. Au revoir, Jeremy said and left. Fifi then got into her home and found a note in her bow. It was a little note. Of course it was a little note. What do you expect it to be, the size of Texas? It had Jeremy's phone number on it, and it said a small compliment about her. I had to do this fast, so I couldn't deeply describe you, as much as I want to, but all I can say for now is you're definitely different, Fifi. Don't you mean you're with an apostrophe R-E? They use the possessive version of your, and that's wrong. Anyone can pretty much see that, and me too. I think they misspelled the word pretty. Isn't it 2 T's instead of 2 E's? I believe so. You're just as great. Oh, they said you're again, and they used the right version of your, but the thing is they spelled it wrong. For Y-O-U-R apostrophe R-E, they forgot the E at the end, so it just says Y-O-U apostrophe R. Yes, that gets a tad annoying after a while. It's rather distracting, too. You're just as graceful as a new papillon. French for butterfly. Butterfly, sorry. Love, Jeremy. Fifi's heart beated faster than any monitor on any car, even her own run-down old Cadillac. I guess this is the end of chapter 2. By the looks of it, I think there's one more chapter. So, let's move on to chapter 3. Hey, you alright down there? She's still alive. Okay, she's still alive. You okay? I guess she's still out cold. Oh. Well, let's just finish up this review quickly and then I'll take care of her. Oh, it appears that they have an author's note at the beginning of the chapter. So let's read it. I'm assuming that's what she does. This is the 3rd chapter. Of course it's the 3rd chapter. It's under chapter 3. What did you think we thought it was? Chapter 10? That wouldn't make any sense if chapter 10 was in the place of chapter 3, would it? This is where Jeremy... Don't you mean where? I guess it is an author's note, but still. They didn't even use the word where, they used the word were. 2 completely different words. This is where Jeremy sings his song to Fifi. Oh, how romantic this will be. Please enjoy and review. FYI, the song Jeremy will sing is originally by Kenny Chesney, one of my favorite country singers. To be honest with you, I've never heard of him, but it doesn't help that I'm not from this country, and I'm not into country music anyway. So let's take a look. Chapter 3. Fifi's Got It All. Fifi woke up the next morning with a note on her dresser. It was again from Jeremy, saying to meet him at the hangout where him and the other boys did their recording sessions. I have to pause for a second here. Are you trying to imply that Jeremy snuck into Fifi's house in the middle of the night to leave her a note? That's creepy. I'm sorry, but that is honestly creepy. How did he get in? Did he break in? And if someone can break into your house to leave a note, you might want to think about stepping up your security. Jeez, I'm wondering if this author is a huge fan of Stephanie Meyer's work, seeing the main male role in that spies on the female role by sneaking into her bedroom at night and watching her while she sleeps. Not to mention he's a vampire, so that's even more creepy. Some people think that's romantic, but if I was to wake up and see some random bloke standing over me watching me as I'm sleeping, I think I would majorly freak out. I'd probably call the cops after I beat the shit out of him. So let's continue to read this fanfic. Fifi headed out there in a heartbeat. She was running towards the hangout. She ran so fast, she caught the attention of an old enemy of hers. Babette, I think that's how you say it, but then again I'm not French, so I'm probably saying it wrong, so please forgive me if I am. Babette was walking down the street. Fifi ran through and almost tripped over her. I think that needs to be broken up into a couple of sentences, because how it is now, it just doesn't make any sense. Ah, that stupid Fifi. Babette grumbled. Babette decided to get her back by ruining her chance at doing whatever it was. Jeez. Bit dramatic much. Fifi got there and saw Jeremy with his wooden guitar. I finished my song to you, Jeremy said. I believe they used the wrong version of 2. The version they used has 2 O's, and I believe the version they needed to use has 1 O. Oh, Fifi said. Jeremy smiled and began to play, then started to sing. Oh. Goodness gracious. Look at this big blob of text. Wow, that's amazingly bad. Excuse me. I can see why the FanFic Critic would get frustrated with stuff like this. It's like they got lazy and decided to not put any paragraphs. Or maybe they realized, oh, this is a fanfic, maybe I should put paragraphs in it, but they used it at the wrong time. Because I noticed that for most of the fanfic it's just been 1 line each paragraph. So this is probably the first real legit paragraph, but it's being used wrong. Usually, when you're writing down song lyrics, that's when you have every sentence have a space after it. Well, let's read the blob of text. She got every quality. Why is the word quality and from merged as one? That doesn't make any sense. From A all the way to Z, it's easy. Okay, they did it again. I think this is where the fanfic critic started to get frustrated. It's easy to see she's the perfect girl. She's got every single thing that makes up my wildest dreams. Sometimes I still can't quite believe she's holding me, 'cause she's got all of my heart, my soul, my wishes. All of my hugs. All of my love, my hugs, my kisses. Everything that means anything at all. All my life I've spent hoping I could give someone such devotion. Every sweet memory I can recall. She's got it all. You know that I admit that someone to love is like this only existed in my prayers. Until I saw her face, I knew I'd found the place where I could keep my every faith eternally, 'cause she's got all my heart, my soul, my wishes. All of my hugs, my kisses. All my love, my hugs, my kisses. Everything that means anything at all. All my life I've spent hoping I could give someone such devotion. Every sweet memory I can recall. She's got it all my life I've spent hoping... Okay, this is just getting repetitive. Don't mind me, I'm just going to skip the rest of the song because it seems to be the same thing repeating over and over again. And excuse me again, I need to put in some of my own input here. Why couldn't they just make up a song? They could have just made a poem up and say it was a song, instead of stealing someone else's song and then saying that this Jeremy character wrote it. It just seems very unoriginal. I mean, if they were just going to have him sing the song without claiming it as his own, that would be one thing. But the fact that they took the song from an actual artist and is claiming that Jeremy wrote it, it's... Well, I guess they do say who it belongs to, but still, it doesn't seem right. It's not that hard to make up a poem. It really isn't. So let's continue. Jeremy strummed the last notes and smiled at Fifi. "What do you think?" Jeremy asked. "Oh, Jeremy, I love it," Fifi said. She wrapped her arms around Jeremy's neck and hugged him. Moi swears vos are the most sweetest, kindest, and most thoughtful skunk hunk moi has ever met," Fifi said, not realizing what she just called him. "I'm a what?" Jeremy asked. Well, it's supposed to say Jeremy asked, but they have it say Jeremy said. Fifi realized that she just called him a skunk hunk. "Oh, you're just really sweet, kind, and a thoughtful skunk," Fifi lied. "No, you called me a skunk hunk," Jeremy guessed. Fifi only did was nervous giggle and blush. What? Fifi only did was nervous giggle and blush. Interesting. Interesting. In parentheses, giggles. "It's okay," Jeremy said. And where's the punctuation at the end of that sentence? Well, at the end of Jeremy said. There actually is punctuation in the quotations, but not at the end of Jeremy said. "Oh, thank goodness," Fifi said. The two got silent for a while, not really knowing what to say to each other. And guess what? Babette saw the whole thing. A devious grin came upon the female skunk. She had a plan. All she needed was a good excuse, a lie, and herself, of course. Oh gee, I wonder what she's planning on doing. The two skunks inside were still not knowing what to say. Jeremy became uncomfortable with being this silent for this long, so he pretended someone called him on his cell. "Oh, that's my dad. I gotta get going. See you later, Fifi," Jeremy said. Jeremy started walking with his guitar in hand. He handed Fifi the lyrics to the song. He started walking out until he was ambushed by Babette, who lifted him into her arms, for he was only Fifi's height. Babette looked at Jeremy, who was dizzy, and you could see his pupils rolling in circles. How is that relevant? "Is your dad Pepe Le Pew?" Babette asks. Jeremy sighs. "Everybody seems to recognize him as his uncle." "No, he is my uncle. My father is his older brother. Now may you please put me down," Jeremy says. "Jeremy? Who are you speaking to?" "Babette," Fifi said as she walked out. "Oh, I'm so shocked. I wonder what she's gonna think of this." "Fifi, listen, it's not like what you think. Okay, I walked out and she just lifted me right off my feet. I don't even know who the heck she is," Jeremy explains. "Her name is Babette, and what is going on?" "And what is she doing? Sorry, Fifi said. "I'm visiting Jeremy," Babette said. "How'd you know my name?" I just now met you," Jeremy said. In parentheses. Scoffs. "Oh, no, we met each other a week ago, remember?" Babette said, dropping him. "No, and I don't remember 'cause it never happened," Jeremy said, then quickly covered his mouth. He was always taught by both his uncle and father to treat women with respect and never raise your voice at her. Oh yes, it's real respectful to be chasing after a woman who clearly hasn't showed any interest in you and constantly pursue her. Yes, that's really being respectful. Just as respectful as that bloody bloke who thought it'd be a good idea to come and kiss my friend and then disappear on me. I still haven't found him. Okay. "Unless she locked herself in a tank and isn't letting you in for sentimental reasons." But he couldn't help it. He was getting stressed. There was one 3 times his living size, saying how he knew her when he just learned her name. Don't you mean now? Get rid of the K at the beginning of that word. And now he's trying to prove his innocence to Fifi that he's not seeing another girl all at once. Now that's a handful. Moi, can't believe it. Moi just can't. Fifi cried and ran back to her home. Fifi! Jeremy called out to her. Then Jeremy ran off after her, leaving Babette dumbfounded. She never thought another skunk would actually like her back. Whose thoughts are these supposed to be, Babette's or Fifi's? It's a little confusing. After meeting her herself, that's even more confusing. So is Babette a lesbian? Or is Fifi a lesbian? Or do they... I don't understand. I'm a bit confused. This should have been worded a lot better than it has been. Fifi ran and ran. She only ran so much for it was hard to run, breathe, and cry at the same time. I actually thought he was different. Fifi thought. Love's tricked my heart once again. Maybe I should just give up. Fifi thought. Then Jeremy tapped her on the shoulder. She looked to see him, then quickly looked back. Shouldn't you say then quickly looked away? Look, Fifi. Jeremy began, but Fifi cut him off. I don't want to hear it. You used the wrong too. Fifi said. Fifi, please listen to me. What else you got to lose, besides another heartbreak? Jeremy asked. Jeremy says. It should say he asked, though, to be honest with you. Fine, Fifi mumbled. Thank you. Fifi, listen to me. She just said she was going to listen to you, so why are you saying Fifi listen to me again? It's repetitively annoying. I didn't even know that 3-story tall girl. I just walked out and she lifted me in her arms and tried to trick you into thinking I was cheating on you. When I wouldn't, Jeremy explained. Fifi, I was raised by the most romantic, kindest, and thoughtful skunks in all of Paris. I think I'll know what do and not to do. I think you're missing a word. When I care for a girl, Jeremy said. Did he just said he cared for her? Don't you mean say? That makes more sense than said. Or was that an expression? Fifi, I'm nothing like those other heartbreakers of yours. And unlike my uncle and father, mostly my uncle, I don't fall in love with a few girls all at once. Instead, I save my heart for someone I know very well, trust, and care for, which is you, Fifi. Jeremy finished. How delightfully predictable. Fifi's eyes widened. He just said as clear as day he cared for her. He even used his uncle and dad as a reference. Let me guess, she's going to automatically believe him and forgive him. Do you believe me now? Jeremy asked her. Fifi turned around and smiled. If Moi didn't, would I do this? She said. Don't you mean asked. She walked closer to him, drew him closer to her, and kissed him. Oh, so sweetly. I believe that's the end of the story. And to be frank with you, good riddance. I know I didn't read the entire story myself, but I could hear what the FanFic Critic was reading while I was in the other room. Although I was trying to read my own book, but it was kind of distracting when I could hear her reading and then freaking out like she did. So, as you can see, I don't think the FanFic Critic would have really particularly cared for the story if she had finished reading it, seeing how badly she was freaking out. But here's my honest opinion, from what I've read and heard. It was a typical love story, very predictable and very mediocre. So the story itself was mediocre. As for the grammar, though, it was awful. It was just awful. I mean, how it was laid out, the spelling, having the author put their own thoughts in the middle of the story, and having them put song lyrics in the story, it was repetitive and annoying. And especially that big blob of text that was supposed to be the song. That was ridiculous. So overall, it was a bad story. And I can kind of understand why the FanFic Critic freaked out the way she did. Speaking of the FanFic Critic, it might be best if I brought her to a hospital. So, She's the FanFic Critic. She reads fanfics. You listen to her. I'm Susan. And, if you'll excuse me, I need to bring my friend to the hospital. First of all,